Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where we're talking about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Inhumans. Another great episode. A lot of interesting things that kind of went down in this episode, so let's break everything down. Obviously, you have everything going down in Adeline with Maximus trying to kind of sweet talk Crystal a little bit. Basically like, what? I just need your guidance. I need your help because it's like, basically he wants to legitimize his rule, as I kind of brought up last episode. Essentially, it's just like, well, the best person to do that for him is a princess, considering she's the only royal person left, because pretty much everyone else connected to the royal family would be like, nah, F you, bro. Well, Black Bolt would kind of be essentially in that mindset. Medusa being in that mindset too. So she's the only one left to kind of legitimize his new reign and everything. So he's kind of like, hey, come on, do me a favor and do this for me. It's like, don't worry, I'm just trying to make things right. The fact of the matter is, like, our family's going to be okay, even though you told Oron to kill them last episode. And even she said, like, if you go back on your word, I will kill you. And he's just kind of smiling. It's like, wow, very good at lying, aren't you, Maximus? I mean, there's a part of me that's like, oh yeah, you can kind of get behind what he's saying, because it's like, oh yeah, their caste system. He's like, oh, I want to abolish the caste system and everything. It's like, oh, okay, there's at least some honor to what he's doing. Granted, he is trying to go about it the wrong way. He's trying to, he's usurping, did a coup on his brother, so it's kind of like doing it in a messed up way, and it is kind of the basis of their, like, rather than just, with the, societies, you can't just change everything just like that. Even one dude, part of the genetic council, is like, that'll destroy our society, right? This is how our society runs on things. But he's like, no, this is how you determine who people, like, who gets left in the dust and basically ends up being put in the mines and stuff like that. So there's some honor there, but in all honesty, it stems from, once again, selfishness, because we dive a tiny bit into it in this episode, but Maximus, being a human, like, always being second fiddle to Black Bolt, like, so it's, the animosity's always been there, because it's like, oh, Black Bolt's the next in line, but he's like, oh, what about me? If brother dies, like, that means I get the job, right? It's like, and their dad was like, no one's gonna die. So, I mean, especially considering the fact is, like, it turns out Maximus is actually more human. It's not just that Terrigenesis didn't go through. Like, I'm trying to understand it, and maybe they actually broke it down, but I didn't quite catch that. But I don't know whether it's the Terrigenesis itself that did it. Like, usually it takes a little while to kind of mess with a person's genes, but somehow it made him 100% human, which then immediately my brain goes like, because at first he's 100% human. I was like, oh, so is he actually not their biological son? Did they adopt him or something like that? But it's like, no, it doesn't seem like that's the case, but it's just like, he is 100% human. Like, there's no possibility of like, oh man, his inhuman powers will just kind of kick in at some point in his life. It's like, no, he's a human and he's pretty much going to stay stuck human. So, once again, adding even more animosity, especially when he finds out about Black Bolt's ability. It's like, yeah, Black Bolt has like the strongest ability, the power that probably could destroy Adeline, even if he wanted to, and even if by accident, was saying like, maybe we should lock the prince up and everything. But the dad was like, no, we're not going to do that. And the mom kind of agreed. It's like, no, this is our son. Like, he'll learn how to control his abilities. And you just see Maximus stand behind. It's like, not only does he get to be king, he has easily one of the most powerful inhuman abilities ever, and he's left there with nothing, no crown and no power. So He can twist it and make it seem like he's doing this for the people, but in all honesty, he's doing it to, essentially this is him settling a score. It's like the tides have finally changed in his favor. I'm sure everything he's doing is simply to get the people on his side. Like, if he can convince the miners, he's like, because he knows his strongest base, the people that will follow him the most, wholeheartedly believe in him, if they think he's on their side, is the miners, because he can reach out to them, because he's someone that is on the lower side of the totem pole, essentially, himself. So I feel like he kind of thinks like, oh, he'll reach their ears a lot easier than he would anyone else, because he can understand where they're coming from, which obviously there's still the aspect of like, well, you're still like a high enough position in the royal family and everything because your brother's the king and everything, but still, that was kind of talked about a little bit last episode as well. I was actually surprised that Crystal didn't go along with what he said, though. I was like so certain. I was like, oh, is she going to do it because she truly believes it? But it's like, no, she's not stupid. She's like, no, Maximus, I don't trust you, Rightfully so. But Maximus, being who he is, he completely like takes advantage of it. It's like, look, she's running away. The royal family, what have they done? They've done nothing but run away. But me, I'm still here. I'm here because I care about Adeline. It's like, you piece of filth. Other things that went down this episode, obviously you had the Gorgon side of things with him and the people he met up with last episode. still willing to fight with him and everything. He's like, oh, these people have abilities and stuff like that. They're like, I don't care. Because the fact of the matter is, it's like, oh, basically people came to our land, took our, stole from our king. So I will fight for your, talking about fighting for Gorgon's king, in this instead of their king. So that was just kind of interesting, just having that back and forth. It's like, these are soldiers, I trained myself, and they're like soldiers themselves. So, but then he brought up the question, one of the guys brought up the question, like, Gorgon, like, these are people you trained and everything. Will you be able to kill them when the time comes? He's like, I will gladly, they're traitors, so I'll gladly rip their heads off. During the fight and everything, which they helped out and everything, he didn't do that though. I guess because they were kind of outnumbered with Mortis there too, but I'll kind of get to that in a second. But I guess, like, I think there's still a part of him that can't do it because, it's because it's hard to say, like, who is 100% like a traitor. I mean, it seems like in these regards, these are traitors, but at the same time, it's like, maybe they're people that just got manipulated by Maximus. Like I said, it seems like he's kind of got a silver tongue. It seems like that's going to be his main power in this regard. I am curious, like, kind of going back to that really quick, I am curious to find out if it will just be a situation of, like, did they hide the fact is that he has power too, just because they didn't want him to try and rival Black Bolt, or what? Or, like, will it just eventually kick in or something? I'm just curious. Or will he just remain human? And like I said, it seems like it all hinges on him remaining human. And I think that'd probably be more interesting if he did stay human, just because it continue his hatred and animosity towards his family for not just them, but basically Inhumans in general, because arguably you could be like, he thinks he's better than them because he's a part of the royal family. He should be the one leading, he'd be the king and everything. So maybe he'll have animosity towards even other Inhumans. It's like, I'm not an Inhuman, but I'm still going to rule over you. I'm special, look at me, yada, 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 So, but in getting back to it is, at least one of the dudes that was fighting with him got hurt because one of the people backing Auron ended up, like, hitting him with, like, some acid kind of vial spit or whatever. So they ended up running away. Mortis, kind of an interesting dude, just removes his mask and he shoots out lasers. Because I was wondering, I was like, it must have something to do with his eyes, because the moment the cell opened, Maximus and the dude who can tell, has premonitions of the future, though he still doesn't have control of the ability, looked away immediately. So I was wondering if that was because at first I was like, oh, does he have some kind of ability where you can't look him in the eyes? But then turned back around and was like, oh, so I guess that's not the case. So I was like, oh, so then what's that all about then? Maybe that was playing a part into it. Maybe if you look directly into his eyes or something like that, like if his mask happened to be off, it kind of blinds you anyway or something, because just how powerful I don't know if I could actually say that. I mean, well, I can say it. Like, there's no ramification to it, but it seems very similar to Cyclops as a power. I know it's kind of, once again, almost a little blasphemous, considered X-Men and the Marvel Universe, or the MCU and the X-Men are separate things in this regard, but still, like, I think, I don't know, my stupid self just thought, like, oh, it's kind of blasphemous to say that. It's, ignore me. And because he brought up Triton again this episode, it's like, the question is, where is he? I mean, is he somewhere nearby on the island or what? Like, is he laying low? Because the last time we still haven't seen him since he got shot and fell into the water, like, at the beginning of the premiere. So it's like, I don't know. But I'm curious to find out more about this Mortis dude, because it does seem like everyone is kind of afraid of him, because even like Auron was kind of like, no, Maximus, you shouldn't bring him in. All he's going to do is bring death and destruction, essentially. So, I mean, he was locked up for a reason, so for what reason? I don't know. What is kind of interesting is he kind of caught me off by surprise, because he has a little bit of personality, which I thought was kind of interesting. He has a little quirks where he's like, oh yeah, like, I think he was talking to one of the Inhumans, like, I think her name is Flora. She's the one that was moving on the plants or whatever. He's like, oh, could you, like, make us a path? Thank you. Like, he was almost like a smart ass. She was like, okay, everybody wait here. He's like, waiting's kind of not my thing. It's just, I wasn't expecting him to go, I thought he'd just be kind of like the dark, silent type. It's like, no, he talks. Like I said, kind of seems a little like our sarcastic douche or something like that. Like, that's just the vibe I'm getting from him immediately. We didn't really get to really interact or get to know much about him. Just kind of like he was locked up for a reason, so for how long he's been locked up and for what reasons, we would just kind of have to wait to see on that front, so. Where he ends up stumbling across essentially a weed farm where there's like 3 people growing a crap ton of weed, and they capture him because they're like thinking like, oh man, you kind of get mixed up in this. Oh man, he could end up ratting us out and stuff like that. So one of the dudes is like, hey, let's kill him. The other 2 are like, man, let's just let him go, because you have Karnak talking about all that stuff about like, oh, his king and stuff and his family and stuff like that. So they're like, oh man, he's crazy. He's just weird. You know, because he starts saying Medusa, Black Bolt, Gorgon. Like, it's like, oh man, this guy's just nuts. Also, side note, it didn't correlate because the last week when I was talking about the premiere and stuff like that, later that night I ended up watching something else, and that video someone was referencing the actor who plays Karnak. I didn't put two and two together, but that's the main antagonist of Rush Hour 1. And also, it didn't click in my head, but till someone else in that same video I was watching referenced that actor in Lost as well, and I was like, right. I don't remember his name, but he was the one that like popped up in the later parts of the series, and he had the power to like see and talk to dead people. I was like, right, because I kept feeling like that actor seemed recognizable to me, but I think that's where it's from. So that was just kind of interesting to me. But nevertheless, he tries to escape and everything, but because he has it planned out in his head. But also, side note, someone confirmed to me last week that I was going to write about like how Karnak's powers works. It seems like it is tied to probability, possibilities and stuff like that. So that's kind of interesting. And he tries to do it this time by kicking the table, and it sets off a chain of events, and they all get caught underneath it. But it didn't work. And it hits Karnak hard to the point like he's like, his family needs him, but you know, he needs his family, but what if they don't? What use is he to them with his brain in the situation that is in? Which it does seem like, yeah, like I said, his power does seem like it's connected to his brain and everything. So the moment that blow he took to his head seems to kind of knock his powers off kilter to the point like he can't see the possibilities and stuff like that. And if he does, it just everything's off. And he's like, what use am I to my family? Because his family always looks to him for guidance because he's the one that kind of figures everything. He sees everything ahead of time, you know? So now he kind of feels a little useless. It seems like he wants to stay with that group, the three people, because they end up letting him live, simply because it's like he needs to kind of figure a way out how to be himself again before he can go and try in any shape or form help his family, essentially. So it does seem like at least the lady that's a part of the group seems like she's kind of more receptive to everything. She's up, listening to him, and kind of references the tattoos. We learn a little bit more about that. He's like, oh, it's something he got when he was younger. It's almost like, it seems like he has regret about them, but he's like, when he looks in the mirror, they're a reminder of how much he's grown. So I'm kind of guessing that's kind of alluding to the fact is that Karnak might have been like a troublemaker when he was younger, and maybe he got mixed up with the wrong group. And the fact is that what those tattoos represent, I would assume. I don't know. I'd kind of love to get to know more about that. I mean, because we really don't even know that much about the others in like this whole situation. Karnak, you know, a tiny bit about Medusa. We learned a little bit about her and Crystal, but that's about it. Last episode, still learn more about them. Gorgon, Black Bolt, learn even more about him, you know. But I guess just kind of because he's kind of set up to be like a big focus of the story, so we'll probably definitely learn more about him going forward, but I'd like to learn more about the others as well. And interestingly enough, speaking of Black Bolt being locked up, and obviously like a lot of people thinking, you know, treating his silence as like, oh man, trying to be a tough guy, or the fact of the matter is that he's just he beat up all those cops. Like the brother-in-law of one of the cops is like, oh yeah, you hurt my brother, he's gonna be in the hospital or whatever for 6 months. It wasn't like he tried to do it on purpose, it was an accident, but whatever. One of the guys he meets in the prison, I mean, it turns out he's an Inhuman as well, but he kind of points out to Black Bolt like, oh yeah, you're one of them, aren't you? So it turns out, you know, him and Black Bolt kind of bond, because he's like, hey, the fact of the matter is they lock up people like you, so you need to get, you know, find whoever you need to, your family or whatever, and get away as fast as possible, because it's just going to turn into a big problem for you. Like I say, it's kind of interesting because, like, we don't know where, like, obviously, like I said, this kind of coincides with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The last time we still don't know in regards where everything really stands. Like, the only big group that we know about that's connected to this was the Watchdogs, though I am curious to know where they stand now when everything's kind of said and done. But I mean, like, this seems like it's more like not even just like it's hard to say, because it seems like, because the way he was talking about it, he was like, oh yeah, like people like us, I mean, well, people like you, because he had revealed himself at the time, but it's like, oh yeah, like people like have been Inhumans have essentially been disappearing for quite a while. So it's like, what the hell is up with that? Somebody snatching them up. Either it's S.H.I.E.L.D. related, maybe it's connected to the end of season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., what happened there. Maybe that has something to do with it. Or something, to the point that Inhumans would be disappearing the way they do. Which kind of got me thinking too. Like, we still never got an answer to that whole situation with, wasn't she a senator? Yeah, the senator from season 4, like her brother, like, without spoiling it, I guess, like his whole circumstances, where his story left off. It's kind of like a, yeah, there's still more to this, and nothing came about it yet. So I don't know if that would ever, him being an Inhuman and everything makes me wonder, like, would anything come of that? Because they made a special big deal out of it, so it makes me wonder, just, is he supposed to become like a super powerful Inhuman? Plus, the fact of the matter is he got shot, but he went back into like that Terragenesis state of like being covered in rock. So it's like, I don't think any Inhuman's ever done that before. So it's like, what is that all about? Nevertheless, because obviously he's helping Black Bolt, because it's like, well, it means helping himself, because he gets contacted by a dude named Dr. Declan, played by Henry Ian Cusack. Sorry. Most notably, obviously, which is, because of ABC, it being ABC, Desmond on Lost, but currently Kane on the 100 on the CW. So that was just kind of cool. And obviously, he's playing more Desmond because I think he's using his natural accent. I don't think he's putting on him. At least it sounded like it sounded like he was doing his natural accent. He wasn't putting on an American accent. So, well, interestingly enough, now that I think about it, going back in retro, like, since this is also ABC too, he was also in the first season of Scandal. I forget about that sometimes too, because he was only in the first season. Nevertheless, it seems like basically he wanted to get in contact with Black Bolt, whether he knows who Black Bolt is or whatever the case may be. Him and that other dude ended up breaking Black Bolt out, which I think is so interesting. I love the fact is that, like, the guys are like, yo, in the yard, the prison yard, because the cops are like, oh yeah, you start anything, I'm gonna take care of you personally. And they're like, yo, the guys in the yard, the inmates step up and like, yo, you're the guy that beat up the cops. And he's like, kind of nodding, just like, okay, kind of like, yo, like, pounded their fists together. And this cop that was like super pissed, and basically turns into a whole scuffle and everything. I was kind of halfway expecting him to, like, at some point, Black Bolt to use his powers, but even with the time comes, you can even tell he's hesitant to use his powers. Like, he could have probably at any point in time used his powers, but it would mean hurting people. Once again, trying to avoid the whole war situation, but also because it would mean killing someone. So I guess that makes that whole situation with his parents even more ironic, considering the fact that he killed him by accident. So, and I'm sure that's even more so why he doesn't speak anymore. It was just because he killed the people that were most important to him. So it's like he can't take that chance again while he's so silent. Last time it was like an accident. They knocked him out, and like he just let out kind of a little bit of a ooh. And it ended up like flipping and destroying a cop car. So, but it's so sad because Medusa was so close to getting him. But unfortunately, or I guess luckily for Luis, she was nearby, checking things out. And then Medusa takes her at gunpoint. It's like, we're following that chopper. So I was actually kind of surprised. I wasn't expecting them to kind of meet up this quickly. I thought they were going to pretty much stay separated for a while. Turns out not to be the case, hopefully. Louise kind of wanted to get in the middle of this, but everyone was kind of blocking her at every way she could. Now, the fact of the matter is, because it just clicked in my head, I didn't really correlate it till just now, but basically she works for like an aerospace program, and it's like, oh yeah, you're with that guy that wants us to like build a place on the moon or something like that. I was like, oh, so this is like some like super rich dude doing this himself. I thought this was like she part of some NASA program. It's like, no, it seems like it's just one dude, and I'm wondering, is like Dr. Declan, is that supposed to be who that character is? So is there like, are our stories getting even more intertwined? So, because Luis is trying to figure everything out, and it seems like she might be the only person outside of the whole situation to kind of have a good idea, except for Declan. I don't know if he knows that they're from the moon or whatever. Maybe he has some inkling. Maybe he saw what Luis saw on that rover or something, whatever the case may be. Or maybe he just read text or something like that. Because there might be records that are on Earth that, talk about the Inhumans that left and went to the moon or whatever. I don't know. We'll just kind of have to wait and see what goes on in the next episode to find out like answers to all that. I mean, you even have like Lockjaw being injured. Obviously, he was able to get Crystal here, but he got injured because he was kind of like still a little worn out from the sedatives they gave him, and he ended up getting hit by a 4-wheeler. So that's gotta suck. I'd assume like that's gonna be Crystal and this guy like bonding or whatever. I guess he's gonna be kind of her liaison here on Earth. So I am curious to see what goes down in the next episode with all of this. But really, that's all I want to talk about in this episode. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and Goodbye.